darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
I really hate this song. Like, I don't like this song. I understand why we play this song, but pushing the Leafs aside, it's just not a, I mean, it's a song, it rings out.
JP,
it's a song that people are familiar with.
I had such deja vu. The song playing, I look up, and there's Grappler's face. It's like...
Been staring at it for 7
every
years.
year. Every year.
Here's
it's awful.
The thing. Do you think Simon and Garfunkel are happy that this is tied to their song?
I think that's why they created that song, though. It's a dark song. Like, it's literally in the lyrics. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It's an incredibly depressing song.
No, but I was on Leafs Lunch talking to Al and Julia, and they were trying to tie a song to The Boss and saying that you don't want the Leafs tied to this when you thought it was glory days and we're excited, and then it goes south. Simon and Garfunkel, their PR people might say, knock it off.
Yeah, that's true. They probably don't want to be associated with the Leafs.
Well,
how about that? The Leafs are too dark for Simon and Garfunkel.
It might be for that tune.
They may honestly say, listen, we know it's a depressing track, but let's not get crazy here. Don't associate us with that.
Yeah.
Please. Hey, the Jays with a sweep. Jays with a big sweep.
Yeah.
Right? Jays are rolling. The sun is up. It's beautiful. PGA championship this weekend, only a few hours south down in Rochester.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot of good things going on.
There is. There's lots to
good
go
things.
over. I mean, you yelling into the microphone on Friday night with a stained tie.
There's rumblings because I had to sit for an hour and break it all down. And there is some rumblings that you went Skip Bayless with the mic and you were going crazy on Friday.
I think there was a modulation issue. Again, because it's such a hot mic. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. I was holding it, I think, in perfect place. And I project. Like, that's what I do. I get loud. I understand I get loud.
Do we have any of it?
Rightfully so.
Later, we'll get some later.
Rightfully so, you were pissed because I think we all realistically thought, I told you guys just before the show, I didn't know how this was all going to unfold, but I would have bet money that they were going to win Friday night. Let's just leave it at that.
Hey, it went to overtime. They had a chance.
I understand that. But then, you don't know what's going to happen on the Sunday and all of that, but here we are, and I was watching everybody Friday night, and I'm seeing you, and your head's going to blow off your body, and you are yelling into the mic, and there's just this look of, like, disbelief. Well, I don't know if it was loud in the background.
It's not disbelief. It is what it is. We all watch the results. But if you look what was out there and you get an 8 seed in the second round, what it comes down to is, and nobody addressed it today, none of the players anyway, it's just a missed opportunity and a big one. You get through and you get some monsters out in the first round like they happened. How many conversations did you have where you're like, how would the Leafs do against the Rangers in a 7-game series? And you probably said, I don't know. They're a pretty good team, the Rangers. How would the Leafs do against the Bruins if they get the, I don't know, Bruins are the best team ever. Colorado, you look at all those teams and they're out and you get an 8 seed.
Yeah.
And I don't care how good Florida played. It's a missed opportunity. It's exactly like the Montreal Canadiens. You get the Montreal Canadiens in the first round, you get them up 3-1 and you can't close it down. You can't get goalie by Carey Price in that situation. And you can't get Florida Panthers in 5 games. Can't happen.
No, it can't happen. And that's it. Like, everyone's making a big deal of we want Florida. Of course they wanted Florida.
Everyone in their right mind would.
Over a team that won 65 games and also has owned the Leafs multiple times in the playoffs. Obviously, everyone wanted Florida. Anyone with any self-awareness would understand that, including Florida Panthers players, coaches, management, ownership. Everyone understood where that came from. But credit to the Panthers, because they showed up and they didn't care who they played.
Right.
They just went through Boston. They went through Toronto. Guess what? They're dogs again.
Yeah.
They're in familiar territory. They got to fly into Carolina now, and they're going to try to knock them down.
They're going to use that card as well.
Absolutely.
It's working
for them.
That's got to be written. Paul Maurice has that somewhere saying, guys, they don't believe you. Nobody picked you to be here.
It's a perfect
Kachuk
play.
Even said it the other night. He's like, nobody chose us. But why would they? Like, against the Boston Bruins, what was it, 40 points that separated and 43 points? Like, they knocked off a Goliath. But against the Leafs, again, they were dogs, but they showed up to play. Yeah, there were some coin flip games. I thought, Bobrovsky,
He played very well.
Here's the
you
thing.
got to give him credit. He played spectacularly well.
That contract has looked ugly for a lot of times, but I guarantee you the Florida Panthers are happy they paid that guy $10 million for the last 2.5 weeks.
It's the same thing as Carey Price 2 years ago. Price was a mess.
Yeah.
In the regular season, it was like, what's up with this guy? And then he gets to the playoffs, and he goes, I'll drag us to a cup final.
Yeah.
Bobrovsky very well could do that. And you're right. Now they don't care about the price tag. Yeah. They care simply about who they have in net. But there's so many different things you can reflect on, not only from this series, but from the season. But the fact that they went 1-5 at home during the playoffs.
That's weird.
That's terrible. Like for a veteran team, too. Like if you're a youthful team, then maybe I can understand
with
that.
a great regular season at home.
Great regular season at home. Home ice in both rounds. Veteran team. Consistency in terms of the core, the coaching staff, like familiarity. Yeah. You go 1-5. That was another reason why I was pissed on that, because I knew my mentions were going to just explode. That I was in the building.
0-4.
0-4 when I was in the building.
Well, you weren't even in the building, and it was 2 Cobb, correct?
Exactly. I was literally walking through the halls, and I could hear.
Did anyone give it to you on the way in there?
Of course. I walked in there, and people were like, there he is, the cooler, William H. Macy.
The cooler.
I was the cooler.
I've been telling people this all the time. Like, you being there had no bearing on it whatsoever.
Did anyone get greasy with you where you had to say, hey, pal, like,
knock it off?
Some people, not face-to-face, but online, some people taking it a little bit too far. A little bit too far on the mentions on Instagram and on Twitter. It's all good. I can live with it.
He's a loser.
Again, it's as if I lost.
Yeah, you did.
I'm the reason the Leafs lost.
Yeah.
But you go 1-5 at home, and at no point during a full playoff round do you score 3 goals. What do you expect?
Yeah.
And the reason why I actually didn't think I was that heated post-game, and I'm certainly not today, is when they went down 3-0, everyone knew it was over. Everyone knew they were going to lose this series.
199 to 4.
To 4, exactly.
Were the chances.
And that's not even about their history and who they are. It's just about the league and the nature of the sport.
That's the statistics of it.
So when they lost, it was like, okay, obviously they lost. Like, we had been bracing for it for 3 or 4 days. I think most people were well aware of what was coming. But 7 straight games dating back to Game 5 against Tampa and all 5 against Florida where they didn't even score 3 goals.
Right.
And everyone's got different targets today. Everyone's looking at different reasons for why they're in the position they're in. But ultimately, I think you can simplify it to that point. And you look at their best players, all veterans, all very skilled, all very capable of scoring, and they didn't do it. Like Auston Matthews didn't score 1 goal in the round. John Tavares didn't score. Marner had 1. Willie had a couple and a big one. But that's it. Like you have that type of firepower and you can't hit 3. And I understand the Riley thing and all that. But the fact is it didn't go on the board. So it doesn't count.
Right.
I just wish one guy had said, you know what, our best players, we didn't get it done. Well, it continues to be all about looks and rushes and opportunities. And I mean, I don't know if the players themselves are calculating any kind of special numbers, but I just needed one guy to say, you know what, we didn't get it done. And we got to be better, and we're going to try to be I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, Leon Draisaitl did that last night, and at the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference. Both are out. Yeah. Both teams and players are out. Does it make it any different that a guy said, you know what, I look internally, and basically, I guarantee you what he said was, I'm not going to sewer my goaltender right now, so I'm going to fall on the sword. That's what he was talking about.
But you know what? I was telling you guys, I don't think any less of Leon Draisaitl for him going, I need to be better. We all know he's an amazing player.
I know, but it wasn't the truth. The guy was an animal. He was the best player on the planet by far.
I like it more. Here's why I think it's important.
I respect that more. I got to be honest. I respect that more because I would love to hear some honest comments from a top player who's getting paid a lot of money to go, I need to be better at a critical situation, and I'm going to be. I can't wait for next year or something.
Right. I think that should be a very high priority for the whole organization. And I guess it starts with ownership, and they have to filter it through. They need to start showing some personality. They got to find a soul here. Because to me, they all sound the exact same. It's like the military around there. Like they're coached up to just don't say anything. Make sure you don't give them anything. Don't be yourself. Just go out and say the bare minimum and get the hell out of here. Right. And that to me is on, I guess, Shanahan, but maybe it's above that, and it's got to filter all the way down. That doesn't mean you're not warning players to be careful in certain situations. There's PR teams with every possible corporation that you work with, and certainly with pro sports. And I understand that's the role of the media relations.
Right.
But I do think it's important for the fans. I mean, ultimately, that's who you're talking to. You're not talking to the camera. You're not talking to the mic. You're not talking to the scrum lurkers. Right. You're talking through them to the fans. And I didn't sense, it sounds kind of corny or a little bit too deep, but I didn't sense a soul from anyone down there. Like someone come out and say something a little bit off script. Like I really,
it was so matter of fact. Yeah, I know we didn't get the job
and
done.
I honestly, I think there is genuine, like there's realness in there. I think this team has taken it out of the players. Like I do. I think they've just told them, be careful, be terrified of everyone, don't say anything, and get the hell out of Dodge. And I understand why that was the case when this regime took over, but I think they've gone way too far. Someone's got to go in there and break the mold and say, I'm going to say what I really think, or I'm going to fall on the sword and I'm going to show some personality. Someone's got to do it.
One guy I got it out of for me was Morgan Riley. I was sick to my stomach for Morgan.
Yes, but he played so well where he knew I could come out and say exactly what I wanted to.
Morgan,
he was spectacular.
But with raw emotion.
Yes.
You could see the raw emotion. You could feel it. I was watching it on TV, but I could feel.
Yeah, at least it seemed real,
emotion.
Jamie.
It was real.
He broke from the script.
That guy literally was arguably the best player on the ice, and you could feel the passion and disappointment through the screen. And again, that doesn't mean that the core four didn't feel that. Doesn't mean that I think any less of them as players. But I would like to have seen a little bit more emotion just based on, again, this is a missed opportunity. You mentioned Edmonton's missed an opportunity, Toronto's missed an opportunity, and Florida sees that opportunity.
Right.
They're like, we're going through the door. We're going to break it down right now. And
everything with this team is sanitized. It's robotic. It's predictable. It's scripted. And I think they're hurting themselves. I do. I think like fans are waiting for something, right? And I don't even know what that is. I can't give you what that is. But the players I heard from today, the coach, the GM, and I know everyone's kind of in a weird spiraling type of position right now because they understand what's going on. But I think that should be a priority for this team. And I guess it has to get to the players where even they say, forget it. This is what we're going to do. Like, this is how we're going to – and maybe they're not comfortable doing it. Like, and maybe it doesn't matter. But to me, I think there's some value in feel like it's unscripted a little bit more often during the season and certainly after the season.
Well,
feel as if you haven't been prepped.
Thing is during the season, it could be laughing and jokes because you got 111 points. They didn't have too many low points this season.
It's not about going off the script. It's just telling the truth. You know what I mean? I think everybody around here can deal with the truth if you say, you know what? We all had big expectations, all the best players. We all did, and we didn't deliver. And that's our goal, and it's what's going to fuel us going forward. And I know it's just talk, but to just go there and say, yeah, we had a bunch of looks and things that it's just, they weren't close in the second round. They got through the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want props for that? Okay, I'll give you props for that. You won a round. But at the end of the day, you had the Florida Panthers in the second round, and you all didn't play good enough. It wasn't even close. Can someone not come close to that? And like I said, it's words, but it's at least the truth.
Yeah. And listen, maybe what it is it's these guys they have their backs up against the wall. They're uncomfortable. I don't know. Well, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, there's a lot of different
things. Dude, it
is
uncomfortable when you lose because you got to answer questions that are tough, and not everybody likes admitting that they're wrong. And it's not about being wrong. It's just it wasn't good enough.
Right.
Like all of us together, they could all say, you know what, we didn't get the job done, because that's ultimately what happened. They was sitting right there in front of them, and they didn't get it done.
It was right there. Every game was close too. That's the amazing thing. Like, they didn't get blown out.
No.
They were. Two of them went to overtime. They couldn't get a bounce.
And the one that went to overtime where it was a no-show. They didn't play very well.
Right. Game 3, they were terrible. They were lucky.
Play very well. But it is a situation where, we can sit back hindsight and say, you know what, you would like a little bit more of his, like a little bit more of that. But it is frustrating because, and I know the unfortunate part is this all happened Friday night, so you've gone through the range of emotions in the 2 days and watch other teams win and lose and that. So now you're sitting there going, okay, how do you feel about it? I woke up still today thinking, I think there's going to be massive change here. I don't know what that means.
I'm not as convinced as you are. I honestly, I was thinking about that as well over the weekend, Noodles. And sometimes, like, how many times have we come in year after year after year and said, well, clearly there's got to be change, and they do nothing. I don't know. I really don't. Like, I thought it was different that Shanahan wasn't a part of the process today. Yeah. In past years, he sat up there with Dubas. That did not happen. That says one of a few different things.
Well, exactly. I don't think Masai spoke the year that Dwayne Casey got fired.
Exactly. So he's either processing that, he's waiting to finish, crossing T's, dotting I's with ownership. Is he separating himself from all this? I mean, possibly. I don't think that's a good look if that's the case.
I think you have to have answers for the board. You've got to have a plan moving forward so they can sign off on it. You've got decisions to make. Now, Kyle Dubas has decisions to make personally because he's an unrestricted free agent. Even if Shanahan dangles a contract in front of him, he might decide, I might look for somewhere else, or I might look at a different scenario. I thought the most interesting out of all the interviews today was Kyle Dubas's, because a couple things stood out for me. He didn't commit to roll back to the core four or whatever. He cited the Florida Panthers making massive change. Mm-hmm. And he also said, I need to take a look at my situation for myself and my family. This has been very hard.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's a negotiating ploy or not. I'm sure it's smart business. But I'm sure it's been very hard on him as a manager as well.
Absolutely.
So that's out of all the, and we all know, exit meetings and exit interviews, it's all lip service. But I got those two nuggets today out of Kyle.
I agree. Well, let's play the clip about, you referenced Florida and what they've done and what he's possibly willing to do if he does stay on as the GM.
Would consider anything with our group here that would allow us a better chance to win the Stanley Cup. So that I would take nothing off the table at all. And I think everything would have to be considered with regards to anything to do with the Leafs.
So that is different than...
We like our players. We're not changing them.
Right. And I'm staking my career on these guys getting it done.
It's just been a different message in his other pressers. Like, hey, we were close. We didn't like... This one was... It seemed a little bit more raw, like we just talked about, emotion. But it also... Like, he didn't commit to like, hey... I'm rolling back, or we feel comfortable. We feel we're right there.
Well, he can't commit to rolling anything. But he said he doesn't even know.
He's not the manager.
Well, that's the whole thing.
As of July 1st.
Like, ultimately, Shanahan is the one that has to speak here, right? And Shanahan he holds the hammer on everything that happens in this organization. Nothing happens without it going through Brendan Shanahan.
Correct.
Now, what makes this unique and this team unique is their ownership setup is. The owners are kind of lurking in the background. They're in the shadows. No one knows what they want, how they operate. We don't have a feeling for that.
It's a board, right?
I mean, you got Bell, Rogers, Tannenbaum. Like, it's difficult. It's impossible to get a read on that.
Right.
No one has a read on ownership. Like, there's no playbook here where you can say, well, clearly they're going to step in and say this is not good enough, or that is good enough. So that makes it difficult to try to project what's going to happen because we don't know where ownership comes into play. Right. Now, when it comes to Shanahan, I think he is in a very interesting position because he is the constant, over 9 years. He was the guy here first.
Yeah.
Like, this was his plan. There have been multiple GMs, multiple coaches, multiple players. He's the guy who's been at the top the whole time, and everything goes through him. And I think what he needs to come to terms with and what he needs to make a decision on is whether or not he wants to play it safe or if he wants to get a little bit crazy. Because playing it safe, for me, is understandable.
With regards to what?
Yeah.
Dubas, Keefe, core four players. And I would even, everyone's saying core four. It's really Matthews and or Marner. Like, those guys are above the other two. John Tavares is in a different spot because he's older, no movement clause. I don't think anyone's expecting him to go anywhere. Willie's a year from possibly leaving if he wants to. And Willie's a very good player. But the two guys on the marquee are Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner.
Superstars.
Those are the guys that Shanahan, I think, and company look at and say, those are our two guys.
Yep.
Like, those are our guys, and then everything else filters through. And I think Shanahan, understandably, has been playing it safe. But I don't think he can look at this or anyone else within the organization and truly believe these guys can get it done now. Like, truly believe this whole group can win a Stanley Cup. You can still hope.
Right.
I think they believed it 3 or 4 years ago. Undoubtedly, they believed it.
Sure.
I don't think you can believe it now. You can hope. So what came with safety? A revitalized fan base, jersey sales, superstars fans can attach themselves to, especially young kids. Very important.
Yep.
Like Matthews and Marner. Every kid in the city loves those two guys. Tons of wins in the playoffs every single year. Very compelling. Safety is very compelling. It's very easy to sell to a board because you're going to make money.
Right.
Now, they're probably going to make money anyway because of the nature of this market and who they are.
Right.
But safe has been working for the most part. But safe's not going to get you a Stanley Cup. So is he willing to get uncomfortable? Because you might get it wrong. You might fire the wrong guy. You might trade the wrong guy, and then you take steps back.
Well, you might do the Kachuk transaction. It might not work.
It might not work. And that's the truth.
You might end up with the Huberdeau part.
That's the point. Exactly. Where safe, guess what? They finish with 105 points. They go back to the dance. Like, I think he can walk into the board, Shanahan, and say, bringing these guys back. We're going to sign this guy, sign that guy, and we're going back to the playoffs. Check. Safe. Okay. Go ahead. But if you go in there and say, this guy's gone, that guy's gone, this guy's on the table, I'm rolling the dice.
Right.
But he needs to determine if Shanahan is going to remain the guy here, the king of the county.
Well,
is it worth it to gamble to win a Stanley Cup? Because safe through 7 years has proven you're not going to win a Stanley Cup.
It hasn't got you.
Then
there,
you just answered your own question.
But dude, he's got to go to the owners. Maybe the owners are sitting there saying, we're making good money.
Yeah.
We like those guys. My kid likes those guys. But this and that. You never know what the owners are going to say.
Again, if all the things were said correctly today, your hand could be forced by one player, 34.
Okay, let's come back, play his clip from earlier today. The tie. Do you want to explain the tie? People are tweeting in, like, why is there a ridiculous tie on the table?
Okay. Go to commercial, and when we come back, I'll tell you
You're going to tease the tie.
You're going to tease the tie.
Okay, we're teasing the tie, the Matthews clip.
Okay, you know what I'm going to also tease? That tie I bought on eBay and never wore. So just think of that. Dude, I swear to God, just think of that. Think of that before we go to break.
Be true.
Yeah, it
can't
is.
Be true. All right,
I'll show you the eBay purchase.
Yeah, but have you shown
noodles?
Is that 4 months ago or what? Like
the tie tease and the Matthews tease. We'll get to that next.
So Trade Center, I'll give you the story on this tie. Trade Center, you wheel down there and you got your beautiful, nice green suit that Carrie made for you. And you had a Randy River tie with it. It was gross. I said, take it off and go in my office there. I got some new ties. Or actually, I went in there to get you one. And I took that tie out of the plastic because I got it on eBay. It's special ties I want because I'm fat because they're thicker. So I got these on eBay. So I take it out of the plastic wrapping. You know those little skinny plastic things? I take it out of the plastic wrapping. I go, here you go. That matches your suit. You gave me that thing back today. It looks like you did a swan dive and did some penne bolognese with it. And you and Al's brother were surfing for penne nuggets. So can you explain to me? I'm just saying, can you explain to me why that tie looks like you lived in a dumpster with it?
Well,
because that's exactly what happened. I'd never worn it.
I don't believe that for a second.
Dude, I'd never worn it. I swear.
I did one thing, though. Apparently, he went to you and said, what is that stuff?
I'll send a text to Carrie. Day of, I looked at her and I said, there's
Dude, you sound like
something on
Johnny
here.
Cochran right now.
I remember talking to Hedge, too. I said, Hedge, look at this. Look at this guy's tie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was a disaster.
I'll ask Jennifer Hedger if that conversation ever happened.
Well, she may not recollect exact conversations from Trade Center. But Hedge is a woman of integrity. I wouldn't be surprised at all if she could
All I ask is be a
that.
professional. I don't need a swan dive into some penne bolognese.
I want to see your eBay search history for starters.
I will show you.
And
I will show you.
Secondly, so you may have got jobbed. Whoever sent it to you,
and I'll bring it to golf and say, James, did I ever wear this tie before? He'll say no.
Why would Duffy know your tie rotation?
Dude, we always critique each other. I like it. Whatever.
I'm telling you,
good.
I remember sitting there in the back saying this is an issue because I can button up, but I think this guy's slobber is all over the tie.
Never worn it.
There is some shrapnel at
There's
the
a
bottom.
lot. There is shrapnel. There's shrapnel, but I'm telling you. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a nice tie. Thank you for the tie. I guarantee you that was on your floor.
Al's brother was wearing it as a headband.
I think it was on the floor of your dressing room.
It looks
don't
like you
believe
were in
for a
Maple Leaf
second.
Square with it. It like wrapped around your head like Rambo. Like
Possibly.
anyway, last time for that.
I'll do everything I can to help you out. What do you want me to do with that tie? Do you want me to try to
Light
get it
it
dry
on
clean? I
fire.
can get it dry clean for you. Done. All right? Even though it's not mine, 100% your DNA.
Please ask who's ever at the dry cleaner, give it a twice over instead of the once.
Sure will. Yeah, I'm
What if
sure
they
that'll
could
be
do
communicated properly.
What if they could do an investigation on what was on that tie?
Oh, it's probably something from this guy's truck.
It's a shoe print.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. It will lead right back to this cat.
I'll spray some lumen. I don't know what
I don't know what to tell you, man, but I did
Take
not.
the blue light
I don't
to
think I ever had food around that tie. And I wore it once, and that was it. I had it on my tie rack, and then I brought it into you, and I said, thank you for the tie.
Anyway, Matthews clip.
All right, you want to hear what Auston said? Because he was getting questioned, obviously.
Right,
Everyone understands as of July 1st, he can sign an extension.
By the way, Grappler texted me and said, "Can you put in the middle of the first segment? Can you get the tie off the center of the?" And
It's a bad look having the
Well,
tie
he asked
there.
me, "Is that your tie?" And
It
I
was there for a reason because it needed to be addressed.
Right, and that's fine. It's been addressed. Nothing's been confirmed one way or the other. I am pleading my innocence.
Yeah.
But we'll text Carey and Hedge, and we'll get to the bottom of that. All right, here's Auston Matthews on if he wants to sign here long term.
My intention is to be here. I think I've reciprocated that before, how much I enjoy playing here and what it means to me and the organization, my teammates, and how much I just enjoy being here. So,
how important to get that done before next season?
Yeah, I think that it's important, and it'll all kind of work itself out in due time.
All right, quickly before we answer that, Hedge has responded. Jennifer Hedger.
Yes.
A woman of integrity.
Great integrity.
Great integrity. The tie was soiled. Hayes questioned it. Case closed. End of discussion. End of discussion. You can take that back, and when you get it dry clean, run it through twice for me.
Soiled, though. Soiled in what? The packaging? Because it just came out of the
I don't know what to tell you, dude, but you had a tie that was mangled the second you pulled it out of your little plastic. Whoever sent that to you, I don't know where you got that from.
Wrapped in saran wrap. It
Right.
wasn't even.
An absolute disaster sent you that tie.
Not the best.
Not the best. All right, Auston Matthews.
worst segue in the history of television. Go
But
ahead.
I had to get that in because Hedge confirmed it. And okay, I appreciate what he said. What else is he going to say, though?
Right.
Like, I think he'll probably stay. I certainly believe the Leafs are going to do everything they can to make sure he stays, and I think that's the right play. But if he decides to leave anyway, what he just said makes no difference.
Right.
So if in the back of his mind he's already thinking, I'm not signing,
Right.
he's still going to come out and say that to get everyone off his back. And he understands if come July 1st, he gives them the Matthew Tkachuk situation, which was different because Tkachuk was an RFA. He's a UFA.
Right.
And Tkachuk was after Gaudreau left, which is different, right? Like that may have factored in possibly. But if he leaves and wants out, people are going to hate on him anyway, regardless of what he says today. So I'm not sure what it really means. I don't think it means anything until he actually signs the contract.
He wasn't interviewed in a court of law today under oath. What he did was, I believe he spoke from the heart. Right now, I want to be here. I believe in this. But he has no idea what the future holds for the organization because Brendan Shanahan, as we pointed out in the first segment, if Brendan Shanahan decides to head in a different direction with a new manager, a new coach, a new vision, new whatever, Auston Matthews is going to be tied to that. I guarantee you, your star player, the face of the organization, is going to want to know if he's going to sign long-term, the vision as well.
Of course.
Because why is he going to say, well, extend me, and then, oh, you're going to trade 3 guys or do something? Like, he's going to want to be, he doesn't need to make the decisions, but he does have to, for his decision, need to know.
Yeah, and he's entitled to that,
on.
and he has some leverage on that front for sure. One of the things I said on SportsCenter right after the show, and we've discussed it before, I remember talking about this, 3 of us, after Nathan McKinnon signed his deal, is I think it's imperative Auston proves that winning is a priority with this contract. Now, that doesn't mean you don't get paid. By all means, he needs to push the bar up. I think McKinnon signed 12.6, which was not a coincidence. McDavid was 12.5. McKinnon said, move it up $100,000 so I can say I'm at the top.
Right.
For me, it's very simple. Anywhere between 12.7 and 13 million. That's where it should be. And if it's more than that, then he's not in it to win it. And I know that sucks for current players, that this is the cap system. And it's in many ways not fair to the superstars that they have to be subjected to making sure everyone else gets paid. But the last contracts were about getting paid for regular season. If you want to win, you can't take everything. Well, and I think you need to reset the culture within the organization that
who's in charge? Like, it's like, you're not, you want to come back, that's great, but your demands, I'm not hearing them.
But I
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm only coming back if that guy or this.
and I
Forget
want
about it.
$15 million a year or whatever,
I hate
then
to tell
you
you
got to
this.
move on.
I think he's getting 15.
Then
And
I
he
think they got to
should
move.
get 15. That's the going rate. He's
It's
allowed
not the going rate.
He's allowed up to 20% of the cap.
Of
I
course.
understand that. You're right. And certain players do take haircuts to stay within the structure. We point at Boston all the time. We point at Tampa all the time. And if he wants to, I understand what you're saying. But he's going to push that bar up. I'd be shocked if it wasn't 15. Now, I think the cap is going up. Now, it's only $1 million next year or whatever, but then it's supposed to have a bigger jump. He's got to factor that in, depending on how long he signs, too. Do you think he signs a 5 to 8 year deal, or does he sign a 3-year deal? I
Listen,
would be shocked if he didn't sign a 3-year deal.
if the cap number is okay,
Right.
then 3 years, 5 years. But if it's a 3-year deal at $15 million, that's insane. That's them.
He's going to
but
say, what
it can't
what
happen.
Connor McDavid, what percentage of the cap did he get?
I don't have it offhand, but I think it was like 12.8 or 13.
No, I know
or
the number, but what
14%.
percent of the team cap
like
was that? That's what they all go. Like,
14%,
Yeah.
16%.
But
or whatever.
McDavid should be at the top.
I
both
understand.
players are worth what they're like. They're worth the chance to pay them the money for everything they bring to the organization to take the shot that one of the two are going to win a Stanley Cup sooner or later, somewhere down the line. I thought one of them were going to do it this year.
Yeah.
Sooner or later,
Both
one of them's
out.
going to do it.
But-
There's no guarantees in life, but I think one of the two players are going to guarantee it.
Let's just
So
say-
you want the money, there's the money. But you're not telling me this guy's got to be here or that guy's got to be there. You get the money to get the job done in the playoffs, and that's it.
I
Well,
understand that.
he hasn't done that.
You're right. But what do we believe the cap is going to be in a couple years? 90 million?
Who knows?
20% of 90 million is 18. Like, I do believe he's going to get 14, 15.
Well,
Like,
and if that's the
problem
case,
is their captain makes 11.
yes,
That's
I
what it
understand
is.
that. That's a big part of the issue, and Tavares has taken a lot of shrapnel now
Yeah.
because of that $11 million, and they wasted the 5-year window where that's when they were supposed to hit. They
I
got
get it.
one round out of the first 5 years. Everyone knew it. The last couple of years, it'll probably be closer to a $5-6 million player.
Correct.
Like John Tavares is still capable of playing. He's still going to score 25, 30, put up 65 points or whatever.
It's not a slight on John Tavares.
No.
It's just the reality.
It's the
of what we're
reality of the
looking
cap
at.
structure.
financially.
But that's my point with Matthews is I don't think that's a good sign if he's saying my priority is my money. He's entitled to it. He can
Right.
do it by all means. He's absolutely entitled to walk in and say 20% or nothing. Okay. Go ahead. It's your life.
Right.
The reality of the hard cap system is the top players have got to fall on the sword. And that's just the truth. And that's
Follow
exactly
the
what
sword, what way?
Nathan McKinnon said, I want $100,000 more for 8 years. He could have demanded 14. He just won a cup. Colorado could have said, like, you don't think McKinnon's worth as much as Matthews? I do.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
of
do.
course.
Of course he does.
I do.
And what did he say? I understand for the Players Association, I have to go above McDavid. I get it. So give me $100,000 more in 8 years so that we can keep Rantanen and McCarr can get signed and you can sign Nichushkin. That's what I'm saying.
That I fully understand, and I agree
It's
with.
important.
You make a
because
very good point.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Right.
But if I'm the Leafs, if he walks in and goes 15, I say you're being traded. We'll call you then. I think you have to. Because what he's telling you is my priority is September to April 15th, getting paid, and that's my priority. It doesn't mean he won't play well in the playoffs or won't elevate his game in the playoffs, but he's not saying my priority is the playoffs and winning. I'm sorry, you can't negotiate like that and demand 15 million, 16 million, and then say, I want to win.
That I agree with.
the
That
thing is-
statement.
And
right there.
that's
Nathan
the system.
McKinnon is the perfect guy to bring up.
That's the system.
I understand that.
He's a
but
victim of the system. They all
He
are
is.
superstars.
But what-
McDavid's worth way more than 12.5.
what he and his management and everyone should say is it's up to management to make that work. It's not his problem. And I get that. I know what you're saying, and I respect that. But I'm saying it's not his problem to go, it's my job to take less so that other guys can get paid.
But here's my counter to that, because that always comes up, and I understand what you're saying.
I'm just being the contrarian here. I actually
I get
100%
what you're
agree
saying.
with what you're saying. I'm just trying to paint another picture.
Because what sucks, if you're in a situation where you're giving up money,
Right.
is they might spend it on the wrong guys.
Right.
They might do that. And then you sit there and say, I took less for you to give this guy money, and we're not going anywhere.
Right.
That might happen. But you know what also might happen? They might spend it on the right guys.
Yeah.
And that's the risk you got to take. That's what I'm saying. If you're Matthews, you got to say, I have to have faith in the team that they're gonna move that money around to the right people. And he's a victim of the system. The stupid hard cap, no flexibility, they get screwed. But you have, like, if you're not willing to say, I'm not going to get every penny I can for the betterment of the team and try to win, then I don't think your priorities are in the right place.
So Joe from the Bridge just sent the number. So when McDavid signed, he signed for 16.67% of the cap, but that was in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
McKinnon signed last September for 15.27%. So let's say the cap is at 90 million. That's what he's working off of. 15.27% is 13.7.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you're getting at is a reasonable number that isn't.
I'm not
crazy.
saying he doesn't deserve I think he deserves to move the bar.
Yes.
And then Leon pushes it, and then McDavid, that's the way it works.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you should come in and say, give me 6
No.
or something ridiculous like that. But if you come in and say 15, you're not being serious.
Right.
I don't believe you are. Like, I'm sorry. It sucks.
Well, you're being serious, but what you're being serious about is getting 15.
Exactly. And it's not going to work.
And you're right, but it comes back to what I was just saying. He does hold some of the hammer.
Of course he does. It's
Now,
his call. It's his
Brendan
life.
Shanahan holds the ultimate hammer right now because we're not sure what direction he's going to head with management, with the vision, all of that. But 34 is a big part of that vision because if 34 goes, I want this, and this, they're going to have to react off of it. And he's either going to buy into it or they're going to have to head in a different direction.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what you're looking at.
Yes. Listen, when these guys originally came up, the players, they won. The team's got to start at least drawing on some of these. All right, Chris Johnston will join us. Ray's coming up. Ray Ferraro will join us. Struddy, I think we're going to get Struddy on, right? Get Struddy's take on the Leafs and the Oilers and two
We
peas
got
in
to
a
play
pod.
the song when he comes in,
Two
too.
peas in a pod. That's right. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Get to Struddy tomorrow. Jays are red hot and Yankees in town. You got Manoah on the mound tonight. Dome open, good vibes, positive vibes.
Noah needs a night, though.
Manoah needs a night. Yes.
He needs a night.
He needs a night. And the Jays got to take care of business at home against a Yankee team that's depleted, not playing so great. Jays, I mean, you sweep the Braves. That's impressive.
Feeling good.
That was a big weekend for them.
Judge had 2 dingers the other day. Like he's
going to get it together.
Sniffing, right? Like
but Danny Jansen, a little walk-off last night from the Shades. I love it.
My golf buddy, when I lived in South Florida, Brad Wilkerson, used to play in the big leagues, sent me a note, and he said, you got to get down to a game. I'm the Yankees hitting coach now. I said, really? You teaching Judge what to do? What are you saying to that guy? Imagine walking in there. What are you saying to Judge when he goes up to bat?
Coming off that many home runs.
Yeah.
How's everything going over there? Honestly, what else are you going to do other than how you feeling?
Yeah.
Just
him to lunch.
good swing. Positive
That's all
thoughts.
about the
Good
relation.
swing.
Good swing. I like it. I like your mojo.
Yeah. How you feeling?
There's
That's
nothing
what it is.
technical. Like if
there is a lot of technical stuff.
Of course there is. And over the course of a baseball season, everyone goes up and down. You get into swings, you get out of swings. So he's breaking down tape and saying, hey, this is what I'm seeing, your launch angle, whatever.
It's all about getting that guy to take one hack to feel confident again. That's all it is.
Yes, exactly.
You know who needs some confidence? Your buddy Doc Rivers.
Yeah, Doc's not in a good place. Joel Embiid, James Harden.
I didn't like Embiid's comments.
Of course not. Embiid, it's never his fault. Guy just won the MVP. It's never his fault.
Like just won the MVP, and he said, "I can't win alone."
Yeah, what do you want out of me? Harden was terrible, though. He was. That's his history, man. That's his reputation.
Big game.
Doesn't get it done in the playoffs. Cannot get it done in the playoffs.
Well,
and
dude,
Embiid,
when he was in Houston, they were up 3-1 on Golden State, I believe, and he played so garbage closing that series out. He couldn't handle the ball.
Multiple times they had the Warriors on the ropes, him and Chris Paul, and they couldn't get it done, man. And
this Doc.
Credit Boston. Credit Jason Tatum.
Yeah, exactly. Tatum backed up his words.
That's the thing, man. You're going to come out and say humbly, I'm one of the best players in the world, then you put 51 up on the board in a Game 7.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Rivers' NBA record, 10 Game 7.
That's what all this stuff's about, man.
Doc,
you talk about the playoffs and performers. It's just about getting it done or not. Like it's pretty simple. There's all these complicated things that people bring into the game, and they do have some importance, but at the end of the day, man, it's about getting it done or not.
Yeah.
And Jason Tatum, you look at that guy, got it done.
Yes, got it
Put
done.
his team on his back and said, I'm going to take control of this. He's got it in him to do that.
Right. Yeah, he's wired that way. Like, he's been to an NBA Finals. He's won multiple rounds as the man in Boston. He's comfortable in that situation.
Well, the moment.
And then next time it comes up, he might not get it done, but he's got it in him to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the moment's not too big for some of those players.
Right.
Where they embrace it. They're like, I can do this.
Well, and that's it. Like, with the Leafs, the sport is very different. The nature of the sport is different. But, like, with stars, superstars, like, you need, I think, one of two things to happen. Ideally, both. But one is you need, like, explosive offense out of your best players. The guys who are expected to do that, right? Like, you have to get it. You got to expect that. And if for whatever reason it's not there or the nature of the game isn't playing out that way, then you need intensity, you need physicality, you need a guy who's wired a little bit differently that's going to throw a big hit, start
intangibles
that are going to make the opponent hate you, right? And there's a lot of examples of guys in both groups, right? Like in group, I mean, Gretzky would be an example of the first guy. Gretzky wasn't going out to fight or hit, but you knew Gretzky was going on the ice, and it was like, watch out, that cat's going to do something. Modern times, I think Patrick Kane's a good example. Kane's not looking for action.
And it's not about the production, it's about the timing of it.
Yeah, a lot of it is. Like OT, look at that guy, he'll get it done.
Yeah.
Or they need a big
to get it to
tonight.
OT or a big start or a big moment. That's all. It's not about the actual production. The timing of it is almost as important.
Yeah, exactly. And like for the Leafs, now Nylander supplied that. Nylander scored a massive goal on Friday night, pushed it to overtime.
Yeah, but we're talking bigger picture. We're talking 2 Stanley Cups in a row where Braden Point or Kucherov were almost in on all the important goals.
That's
Stamkos too.
Yeah.
Those two guys, again, I mentioned Patrick Kane was an example of that. Obviously, Sid was doing that. Gino was doing that. Last year, it was McKinnon when need be, Rantanen was
Makar.
great. Makar was great. Yeah.
Everyone has their moment. I would have liked to seen, what was it, McKinnon a year ago where he was like, I've been in this league for 9 years and I haven't accomplished what.
Yeah.
And then the next year he won the cup.
And it's not like we're asking anything that's out of their capabilities. They do it every regular season. Overtime, they're the guys that get it done. Third period, they get it done. They're fist pumping, the crowd's going nuts. It's not anything out of the norm. But it's just the moment is bigger, the lights are bigger, brighter, and they just they don't get it done.
For me, it just sells. Hope is the wrong word, but it actually points to something like the league is hard to win in. Like Nathan McKinnon, it took him 9-10 years to win.
Ovi, it took 12, I think.
It not everyone could step into the league and be a rookie and hey, we won the cup. This is easy every year. How many guys you played with were like, I won the cup in my first year. Thought it was going to be like that every year. Never made it back.
Jamie,
again,
I played with a lot of grizzled veterans that never even had a sniff.
Like it's a lot harder than not that the people think because we know, but it's just that it takes time, and there has to be different formulas involved. That's why I do believe. I don't know how much change, but I believe there is going to be change here. I don't know what that is, though.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Yet.
Well, and I think what Kyle said should have always been the case.
Right.
If there's an improvement, I remember us coming in last year, and I think we came in the year before. If there is an improvement to be made, you got to make it.
Yeah.
Like you look at the coach. If there's just a better coach out there, you have to do it.
Right.
Like you've got to do it. The issue with like the Matthews, Marner, people are comparing it to DeRozan and the Raptors, and we've used those analogies in the past, is Kawhi was sitting there.
Right.
Like, it wasn't that DeMar was toxic.
It's
And I
an
don't think
upgrade.
it was that this guy's available. We got to do it. Obviously, that should apply here.
Right.
But I can't give you what that looks like. Like, I don't think Matthews, Marner, any of these guys, I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they're toxic. I don't think they're poison in the room. Like, I don't think you look at it, I don't get that impression like that guy's holding us back or that guy's the issue. So it really is like a DeRozan type of situation.
And for the people
but
that's
Kawhi's not sitting there.
And for people that thought maybe if you gave DeMar more time, it could have happened for him. He proved what he could have done. Him and Kyle together proved what they could do time and time again.
Right.
So why would you keep believing in it?
But that's it. That logic, I think, applies to these guys.
Of course it does.
But is the upgrade actually there? You're not trading them for pieces and picks
for
and
me,
prospects.
it has
You're
to
not
be-
going to do that, and you shouldn't do that.
We were talking about it. We got to get into it, and we'll bring it up with Ray and whoever else.
CJ's coming up, yeah.
I think they need a rock star defenseman.
As much as
really
we
do.
all love Morgan Riley, they
Yeah.
need a guy that's
But
better
to
than
play,
him.
Yeah, but to play with Morgan or because I have no problem with Morgan Riley. I look at the defensive course. Like last night, the Oilers played. Those are two Norris caliber defensemen for Vegas.
Theodore and Petrangelo. Yep.
Exactly. Carolina, Slavin, Burns. Like you're looking at
Pesce.
there's Pesce.
Shea. Goes
we'll
on
talk
and
about
on.
it, but there's lots to be talked about here.
Yeah. Okay. Chris Johnston on the future of Dubas, Keefe, the core four. What does he make of what Matthews had to say today?
6:45, we're calling Jennifer Hedger.
And Hedge will be a part of the program on Tiegate, the most important story in the city today. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.